Come and jump in the ride, hop on the bus. We gon' slide, be outside when we pick you up. Take you to a place where you can open up your mind. Say what you gotta say, and nobody blinks an eye. You on the long bus, with short thoughts, long bus, with short thoughts, long bus, with short thoughts. You on the long bus, with short thoughts, long bus, with short thoughts, long bus, with short thoughts. At the bus stop and whatnot with some blunts in my lunchbox. Enough stock to last the whole show. Got a whole packed road. The place about to go, better keep your glass cold. I jump in, meet my other friends. Big respect, gotta show love to them. You wouldn't believe who they bumping in. Why you looking like that? You coming in? Anyway, this is Matt, that's Steve. What a rich dandy. There's Jason, there's Robin, that's the other Steve. This the whole damn team, the whole stampede. Welcome to the show. Go ahead and speak. Make yourself at home. Here, take a seat. Let your mind free. Hit a little tree. Take a little drink. Whatever you need. Whatever you need. Jump in the ride.
All right, welcome to, we're going to call this one Show Help. This is something we're hoping to bring to everybody for some help that if they need it. We're going to thank our sponsor, Habits, Glass, and Goodies. We got 3 locations here in Omaha, one on 84th and J, one on 101st and Maple, and one down in the Florence neighborhood off North 30th. We would also like to thank the Thirst Trap Wellness. Mobile IVs, hydrations, Botox, all kinds of fun stuff. And they're great people. So today we're going to welcome Lutheran Family Services. We've got Bev and we've got Nicole. And they're going to kind of tell us their mission and what they got going on to help the community as far as mental health and family services, things like that. Nicole reached out to us after Kyle's video, and I thank you for reaching out because it's, I struggle from mental health. I have a ton of friends that do. And sometimes just knowing that we have somebody to talk to, like, even though part of you may know that, you just don't. And sometimes knowing that you can call somebody that isn't related to you or that doesn't know those, that, you have a hard time telling people things. Sometimes it's nice to be able to reach out to somebody that isn't going to get it in the street for you. So welcome to the show, ladies. And let's hear what you brought for us, Bev.
Well, I'm always delighted to talk about LFS because it's one of those resources in communities really across the state that people kind of know that somebody is out there doing this work, but they're not really sure necessarily who it is. And a lot of times it's us. And we've been around for about 133 years, and we started out as orphanages in Fremont and Omaha, and have since grown. We do a lot of work with children and family, and we also have grown into doing work with a wide array of behavioral health services, people with substance use issues, mental, depression, struggling with all kinds of things, and kind of all of us are struggling a little bit these days, right? But we have some very specialized therapists on our staff that can do work, that's unique and specific to the need of the person that's asking for help. We work with children and young people and seniors, so it's a whole wide span of ages that we can support people in one way or another. So that's just a broad overview. We have offices from Council Bluffs to North Platte, and that is even expanding further. And we provide crisis response in many of those communities alongside police. So there's just a lot we can talk about today. So
okay,
whatever.
I have that you guys are close to 15 locations between kind of Council Bluffs and Grand Island, and that was what I found. There may be more things out there than that, but a couple, 4 in Lincoln, 3 in Omaha, 1 in Council Bluffs, and then Fremont, Grand Island, Lexington, 2 in North Platte, and then just 1 here in Omaha?
Multiple in Omaha.
Okay.
We have several locations, and I think there's 5 locations in the Omaha area.
Okay.
So, and then multiple in Lincoln as well. So,
Okay. And you, I mean, so behavioral health, I mean, even like with the children that, raising kids, my kids aren't necessarily that big of a
mhm.
struggle, but I have friends that, battle with their kids. And so, I mean, we could work on those kind of aspects too in your kind of, facilities. That is something that,
Do you want
Yeah, kids are kind of my aspect.
all right.
I supervise 13 clinicians throughout the state, mostly with Lincoln, Omaha, and Fremont. So we work with kids from really 0 to 18 or 19 before they move into adult behavioral health. I mean, we work with kids that are struggling in school, kids who have problems with different kinds of trauma, kids who have been sexually abused, kids who have lost friends to car accidents or whatever kinds of things that they are coming in with. We work with the whole broad span and we bring in their families and work with them too. So anything your kids are experiencing, like we work with that.
I mean,
We do that.
none of us know exactly how to do the whole parent thing, or I mean, even get through life. Like it's.
Hmm.
Let's be real. We're all kind of like just let's see if this works, and and really trying to get
Right.
through. Like sometimes that bit of direction is
And
nice.
sometimes we don't either, but we try things, and if that doesn't work, we try something different.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit of try this, try that, try this. Something will stick.
Well, and there's a group of people who have been
Hmm.
doing this that have multiple ideas. I'm sure there's a
Yes.
notebook of ideas to write, instead of where I'm at home with, my one idea or my
Right.
wife's, yeah,
We all bounce ideas off of each other and say, have you tried this or have you tried that? Because I've noticed that this works with this kind of kid or this will work with this kind of kid.
yeah.
Yeah.
And every situation's different.
Hmm.
Every situation.
Yeah.
Um, the as far as the why am I stumbling on this? The substance abuse, is this like a full time like a care facility where you could go for months at a time, or is it just like
we have several different levels of service actually. We everything from intensive outpatient. We don't do residential, so people don't live. We don't have facilities that people go to, but we do work with them, and that's a big important note for a lot of people because they some people will not go get help because they're afraid that they're going to be institutionalized in some way. But we have, especially in our Fremont, Lincoln, Omaha area, we have intensive outpatient therapy where they're in sessions like 3 days a week, and they do some group sessions and they do individual sessions. Um, and so, yeah, that is something we offer. And then there are lower levels of that, or less intensive levels of that type of therapy as well. We do medication management. So there's, which is a whole different area of making sure that people are staying on the meds that they need without having issues the other way. So, but we have incredible specialists on staff and therapists on staff who can help people through that and help coordinate their care into what they need.
I guess impatient there was the word I was looking for.
Yeah, yeah. We try. We do not have inpatient facilities.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
except in North Platte, we do have a facility out in North Platte called Josiah Place, and that is really for adults with developmental disabilities, so that they can live independently. But that's really not a something we advertise a lot or
yeah.
whatever. It's pretty hard to get into it, and but that's really the only type of inpatient stuff that we do.
Okay. As far as family services, is that kind of the whole gamut? I mean, are we helping look for jobs and things like that too, or is it food?
We well, you're like. Let me
As
start with
far
the
as
first part of your question. We have one program in particular that comes to mind called our Fatherhood Initiative,
okay.
which is we've only had it for a couple of years and it has just grown exponentially. It is a program where fathers can, no matter their circumstance, non-custodial, custodial, whatever, if they just want to be a good dad, they can get engaged with us and we can help them. There's classes, there's support, care coordination, and all kinds of things that go along with that. We work with dads who are incarcerated and help them maintain relationships with their children. So when they get out, they can have a good starting place. And as part of that whole scenario, there is support to find jobs, financial stability, housing stability, and all of those things. And that is a program that we offer statewide. And the numbers from last year, it's well into the hundreds of dads that we've been able to work with.
That's great.
Yeah, it really is. We were I think it was last Father's Day or Father's Day last year. Governor Pillen recognized the program for the impact it's having on being able to keep dads in contact with their children and really doing what can be done to help families either stay together or have good working relationships for the children.
Yeah.
So
Let's be real. The kids are our future,
Mm-hmm.
and I came from a broken home, and there was some abuse and violence, and I know the effect it has had on me, and a father that is going to reach out and say, hey, I could use the help, and could you guide me a little bit because I want to be that dad, and then you guys do it. That's amazing. I got the chills, you know what I mean, while you were while thinking about it.
what's incredible about it, honestly, is so many of the dads are like, I want to break the cycle.
Yeah.
I want to break the cycle. Either my dad wasn't around, I never knew my dad beat me, whatever. And they become dads themselves, and they're like, I want to do it different. I want to be the dad that my dad wasn't.
Yeah.
And they are getting that support. So incredible. That team is just incredible in the work that they're doing with families across the state.
That is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's to help any kid that is could potentially be stay away from the abuse and all that stuff is great. That's one of those things. I wish I had a bunch of money and could support a cause like that all the time. You know what I mean?
For sure.
I was that beat kid. My kids have never been beaten. You know what I mean? They've had a swatting on the butt, but like it's not. My dad swung 2x4s and such, so it's one of those things that seeing it if I see a dad pop a kid in the mall, I'm the guy that's probably going to say something to him about it. I don't respond to it well, and
Mm-hmm.
it needs to stop. The kids need to be safe.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. You guys also offer new populations service, like people that are coming from other countries and things like that. That's great too, because coming to a new country is not going to be an easy task, and trying to get set up and language barriers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's beautiful too. What else do you guys offer for them as far as?
Well, we had until January, had a very robust refugee resettlement program, and that was put on ice pretty much by the new administration. So we've not had any new arrivals since I don't know, it's like January 23rd or something
Yeah.
like that. And so, but in the interim, our staff, that team is just an amazing team of people. Many of them are former refugees themselves, so they understand. They're many of them. I'm thinking of one gentleman in particular that I got to be there for his citizenship ceremony. They're all working towards citizenship, but in the interim, they're working with folks as they come in, and there are specific guidelines that need to be followed when someone is coming in as a refugee. They need to have a job within 90 days. They need to be, the kids need to get into school, learning financial um, literacy. That's the word. Thank you. I could not think of the word. I was thinking stability, which is a good word too, but financial literacy and, just basic things of, how to navigate the bus system. And so our teams are very engaged with helping the folks that are here. There is, it does take a little bit of time to learn to live in a new country. If you can imagine coming in and you don't speak English, so ESL classes are a big deal. We actually just opened a new driving simulator down in our Lincoln office at Health 360, where people can go in, refugee women, our target audience, to be able to go in to learn to drive. without being on the road. They can learn, you know,
Yeah.
and it was
That was
funded, grant funded.
That was in the Lincoln Journal Star yesterday or the day before.
Well,
Yeah, there was a little story in the paper about
there's
it.
a lot of countries where women can't drive. Like
Mhm.
it's so like
And
yeah,
this is helping them with that.
that's great.
So, but yeah, there was a cool little story that the Journal Star did when we got it going. So, so that's something that we're doing. It's really the focus is getting them to become self sufficient. We kind of work ourselves out of a job with the folks that come in
Yeah.
and that we help. So that's the big part of it. We do offer. We have a service within the organization called Global Language Solutions, and so it's a translation service. So it's something that businesses can reach out to us, and we can help them if they have needs within their workplace. There's a large number of employers that hire refugees into their staff, and then sometimes they just might need a little help with translation, and we provide that service as well.
All right.
Yeah.
So kind of back to the mental health and stuff.
Mhm.
Is this to come to your facilities? Does it require insurance, or is it anybody can show up?
We're a sliding scale. Hmm.
Love that.
Yeah.
I mean, just
We don't turn people away.
there's a long period of life where I did not have insurance, and there was a lot of neglecting myself because of that, including my mental health. So that's great because it and everybody again situations are different. So the sliding scale, you get the option to get in there and get the help, and that's great. Um, isn't you guys do like some any emergency like a 24-hour line? Okay,
Well, a 24-hour line, we would, if someone were in crisis, we would send them to 988. We would
Okay.
ask them to go to 988, and they might contact our folks. We have a crisis response co-responder teams in Omaha and Fremont and Kearney and that area out there where we work very closely with law enforcement. If they have mental health crisis come up, someone is struggling, and rather than the officers having to go out and handle it on their own, then they'll contact our team, someone on our team, to help them with that. And they can work. And it's like therapists on call. They
Yeah.
can go and they can work with that person so that it doesn't escalate into something worse. And they're a very busy, very proactive team. They also do a lot of training across the state. Mental health first aid is one of the things that they teach that companies and others can call and ask if we can come and teach that to them, and just other things that we can do. We try to find creative and innovative things that we can do to educate the public about how to be. I kind of like just to know when someone is in crisis, when you really do need to call someone and get help. Just that alone would be something because it's like, are they just acting out or being silly, or do they really need help? And so that's some of the education that's done as well.
and it can be hard to know the difference. It can.
Mhm.
It can. And then that your crisis response team is that's essentially what that is there.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
And are they a mobile response team? So if they needed to come to like a police scene to talk to somebody, is it that or is it a phone call?
The police would actually reach out to us.
Okay.
Our relationships are primarily with them. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, if something's changed as far as crisis response. Has anything changed? Okay, I think so. Yeah, primarily the relationship is with the police, and they're the ones that bring us to the scene.
Okay.
So,
Okay. That's sometimes having that face to face was kind of my question is having the
mhm.
crisis team there in your face instead of talking to you on a phone. You're going to feel it a little more. The conversation
Absolutely.
it means more that you're here. So that's awesome that you guys kind of put that out there to be able to do that. That is great.
Actually, we just this week, one of the Channel 7 did a piece about our crisis response team in Fremont, and they have in Fremont, it's sort of unique, peer support. So there's a gentleman that works with the Fremont Police Department, John, who has been through a lot of the challenges that others might be going through, and he understands to work from a peer support. Like when he says he understands, he really understands what they're going through. So that's another model of care to be able to provide support to people that are in crisis.
Yeah.
But yeah, just
My thing is I try to remind people on Facebook every day, not every day, but I put the message out there, check on your people that could be silently struggling. And because I know that was me a lot of times, we talked a little pre-show 7 years ago. I had a deal, but it was my brother that called me, and we had the hour and a half, 2 hour conversation, and he still probably doesn't know it to this day, but that, put me on a different path. And, so it's that one phone call checking on people. It goes further than anybody really knows. And then having resources that we can know about, you know what I mean? I didn't know you, didn't know you guys were around before. And there's been a lot of years that it would have been great. There's another, there's another place here in town that I'm hoping to talk to on a similar level, and but I really appreciate you guys, just accepting people whether they have the insurance or not. I have lost too many to drugs and to suicide, and just because they didn't want to talk.
mhm.
You just can't. I have a hard time telling my mom and my wife things that, and I know she's not going to go around and tell her, you know what I mean? But just because you worry about that judgment. But I know that there's people out there that I can talk to, and, that aren't going to spread my business and put those things around. So thank you guys for what you do.
For sure. Yeah, we have. There's one of the ladies that runs our crisis response talks about that, multiple times a week she's talking to people and talking them out of making those decisions, right? So, I mean, and I asked her one time, I said, can you even estimate how many lives you've saved? And she's like, I just don't think I can. It's so many times a week that that's the call, that's the conversation. So we kind of, to answer your question before, we do it both ways. Like 988 might call, they might call 988, they'll get into our crisis response person, they'll have somebody that they can talk to, or and do follow up with them and care coordination for them, whatever is happening that we can intervene and help.
Yeah.
So,
And then once they get them out of crisis, then they will come into like a regular therapy setting. So that way they would go into adult behavioral health or come see us with kids, and we would start to see them on a regular basis. So
Okay.
once we get them out of the crisis mode that they're in, they don't just drop off. They
Yeah.
then come see us on a weekly
Yeah,
basis.
because it doesn't just stop.
Right.
It
Yeah.
doesn't
So
stop.
then we take over.
Yeah. No, I have friends that have been clean for 10 years that still struggle with the thought of using. So I know it doesn't go away. The same with the mental health. I've been dealing with it for 30 years at least. I remember as a kid talking to counselors, and, at the time I wasn't so receptive and wasn't so willing to talk, the stubborn kid in me. But now I realize how valuable it would have been and how much of my potential healing I pissed away because I was the angry kid.
well, that's what her team, that's what Nicole's team, they work with those kids. And, we also have the Our Safe program which addresses the kids that have either acted out sexually or have been sexually abused, and they need the long-term therapy and support not only for themselves but their families.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes the anger comes from.
Yeah.
So,
No, there is a lot. Yep, I was angry, angry always as a kid, and about my parents splitting up, about getting beat up all the time by dad. Just mom wasn't around because she was depressed and dealing with her own deal. I get it. I get it. As I was that angry kid for sure. So, but really, thank you for what you guys do. Is there any phone numbers or any websites we want to
well,
put out here?
a couple of resources I wanted to share with people. They can text us anytime. Our text is 531-444-3434. And that is on the homepage of our website. Also, it's like, how can we help you? You can text us, and then the number is there. But our website is one spelled out ONE and then LFS.org. And they're
Right on there's the button that says Get Help. It takes you to get started. You can fill out the paperwork to get into our portal. Everything is sent via email, and you can fill it all out on your phone and then get started.
you can explore our website too, just to kind of see all of the programs that we offer and the support that we can offer.
Yeah.
If
And
there's questions, concerns, you need help, the phone numbers are on there to get help as well with
so,
the tech part.
something else that I love that you're into the smaller towns too. I live an hour north in a village, and finding a good doctor and things like that, you got to come to the city. So I appreciate y'all getting out to the smaller villages and towns. The farmers need it too.
I can go you one better on that. We offer telehealth.
Oh,
So we actually were in almost 90 Nebraska counties last year. I believe it's like 87, whatever, but through our telehealth program. And the statistics are, like pretty much across the board. At least one, all of our clients have had at least one telehealth session, whether they're in behavioral health or children's or whatever, over the year. So that is a very active program that can reach into those communities. We have some communities that, like the churches, have set aside, one of the churches will set aside a room that can be a therapy room, and there's just a laptop in there, and people can go in there and have their session with their person if there's not a full-time therapist there in town.
That's great. Yes, that would be
that came out of the pandemic. That was sort of, but it's maintained and still reaching people.
Well, being a small town guy, and having to travel to Omaha for a doctor, that is great.
Yeah.
So that is something I wish we had back in the 90s.
Yeah.
So yeah, great. Well, ladies, I have some burgers up on the smoker. We got anything else we want to throw out here before we go eat? No, I will plug the phone number and email into the video and put it in the description and everything, so it will be there. Yeah, but I appreciate you guys, and hopefully we can get some people pointed in the right direction for help and healing.
Yeah.
So
please reach out if you need some help. We're here.
yes, thanks a lot, ladies.
Thank you.
Run it. Come and jump in the ride, hop on the bus. We gon' slide, be outside when we pick you up. Take you to a place where you can open up your mind. Say what you gotta say, and nobody blinks an eye.